So, today I'm going to be doing some vegan mathematics. I'm pondering the conundrum of total ethics versus mathematics. So this is in response to a case that a lot of vegans represent that recently Brian Turner expressed in his video about things that he disagrees with vegans on. And he did invite us to present alternate views, and so that's what I'm going to do. But first I'll let Brian outline his case.
I hope everyone understands where I'm coming from with this one, but I don't think that everyone has to go fully vegan, and I don't think that it's really realistic either. So let me break this down a little bit. So the way that I think about it in numbers, right, is that the animals don't really care whether you're 100% vegan or if you're 80% vegan. They just care if they're getting killed and eaten, right? So the way I think about it is I break it down by numbers, right? So if 80% of all people went 80% vegan, in my opinion, that's better than if 50% of people went 100% vegan. Now, follow me on this. If 80% of people went 80% vegan, that would be 64% of their diet was plant-based. Now, you might think that it might be better if they're 100% vegan, but if 50% of people went 100% vegan, only 50% of people's diets would be plants. So by numbers, there's actually 14% less animals eaten by the majority of people going mostly plant-based rather than half of the people going all the way plant-based. Now, in an ideal world, it would be super dope if 100% of people went 100% vegan. The world, climate, everything's gonna do better with this. Health is gonna do better with this. Let's just stop hurting animals. I would love if everyone realized that, but just being a realistic, pragmatic person, I just don't believe that that's ever going to happen. But I do think that the narrative, if the push is more towards pushing people to go more and more plant-based, as much as they can go and as much as they can, push themselves to be, I think it's going to end up having a lot more people move that needle more towards the plant-based diet. But if the rhetoric or the narrative is that you can't have anything at all, you have to be 100% eating plants, I think a lot of people won't even try. They'll say, that's not for me. I could never do that. How many times have you experienced that? When I introduce people into plant-based dieting or veganism, especially when they ask me for my opinions, I always say, take it one step at a time, go as slow as you want. Even if it took you 2 or 3 years to really get into it, that's way better than trying to go 100% plant-based by tomorrow. Every once in a while, if you have to, then have a cheat. You can, go eat whatever it is that you normally used to eat before you started the plant-based diet. Because if that's what you need to do every 4 months, 6 months, year, or whatever, to stick with it, then I think that's a lot better than if you just don't do it at all because it's too scary, too daunting to go 100%. Or if you try for a long time, then you fail because you can't stick with it. Okay, number 3,
No, I have nothing but love and respect for Brian Turner. He's a great vegan activist. Shares tons of recipes to show how easy it is to go vegan. Inspires a lot of people. Great advice on easy, sustainable, healthy veganism. All around just seems like a nice guy. But he did ask if anyone has any counter views to the points that he's raised, and I would like to share mine. So, my alternative take on this topic is that this only really adds up where time is static.
The wonderful thing about the watch was that you always had time to do anything you might have forgotten.
As soon as we start moving again, the difference between being 100% vegan and partially vegan really starts to matter. Now, I fully accept that the animals don't care, and mathematically we're better off saving as many lives as possible. In the interest of growing the movement, if a person was only prepared to go vegan 80% of the time, I'll say, wouldn't bother. I would fully support and nurture that 80%, of course, hoping all the while that 80% grows, and as they start to experience veganism for themselves, they learn from experience that veganism is much easier and enjoyable, and the 20% animal products that they cling on to start to lose their value and eventually disappear from their diet and they become 100% vegan. In this theoretical world that we're presented with, 80% of people are plant-based 80% of the time and consuming animal products in the remaining 20%, while vegans generally agree that we're working towards a goal where animal agriculture does not exist. No birds are eaten, no cows are tortured and killed, no knives in throats, no bolts in brains, no gas in lungs, no fisting, Well, you get the point. So my counter is that if 80% of people eat plant-based 80% of the time, then these 80% of people do not really truly care about animal lives. This 80% have not fully addressed and interrogated their values and changed their hearts, and these 80% feel comfortable to routinely, frequently keep the animal agriculture industry going. And there is a smaller appetite for abolition. The animals, although dying in fewer numbers, have a weaker voice for their cause in that world, as the moral standard is not united, and animal abuse continues perpetually for those who remain in it. With 50% of the people eating plant-based or being vegan 100% of the time, that has an enormous influence on the remaining 50%, as they have the message that eating any animal products or consuming any animal products in your life is not acceptable. The moral standard would be far more quickly adopted, and with veganism, as there has been in other social justice movements, we'd reach a tipping point whereby it doesn't take everybody having a change of heart to change the reality for the victims, and for example by changing the law. So if you take the case of same-sex marriage, the bill for same-sex marriage passed in the UK Parliament in 2013 with votes for of 366, but 161 against, and then eventually passed in the House of Lords with a 72% majority. That means so much to the people who were oppressed under the previous legislation, but did not take 100% of voters and the public to change their mind in order to achieve. If you want to get mad at Tories, then the party-by-party split on those votes is very revealing, although probably not surprising. So, I accept the static maths of the moment in an increased, mostly plant-based world, but the 50% fully vegan world is on a faster trajectory towards our end goal, and the generation that follows that 50%, for example, will be a majority vegan society. A majority 100% vegan society. That's a majority society where people do not accept animal abuse at all in their lives. Animal abuse will be intolerable to them, and the voice for that will be so strong that the remaining 50% meat eaters would quickly come round to fit the new ethical standard, unless the increased volume of vegans in politically influential positions were able to change the rules first. In the 80% world, people feel happy to abuse animals 20% of the time, and their moral standard does not change, and we never reach our end goal. Hey, there isn't exactly a formula for this. It's all sort of theoretical maths. It's not a number you can assign to emotional impacts of other people's values and the pressure that it puts on the society at large. But if somebody warming up to veganism wants to try a partially plant-based diet, we should be supportive, but we'll keep that end goal in mind. I do think it matters to the trajectory that we're on that the values change and not just the habits. What do you think? Also, shout out to Brian Turner and thank you for your great work for the movement. Keep being a cool guy.